Speak Spanish Today, Beginner's Level, Part 1, at the restaurant, en el restaurante. So we're going to take the opportunity to go beyond just learning some vocabulary and some phrases. We're actually going to start to think in Spanish and use what you see in this video to speak right today. So if you went to a restaurant after this video, you should be able to say some phrases to order food with the server that's just speaking to you in Spanish. And this is something that is going to be a reoccurring theme in my videos, where we go through the whole learning process of being able to apply what you learn, not just take like a classroom type approach and just talk about something and that's it. So the first step in the learning process, the first part of 4 that is well, just that, learn. This is more or less like a classroom setting where you're just going over material. You're not actually practicing anything yet. We're going to go over some expressions and some vocabulary that you'll use in a restaurant to speak to a server, to ask for food. Now note, with expressions that they don't always translate well, so you really just need to memorize them and accept them for what they are. What do I mean by that? Well, take Español, take Spanish. In this case, tengo hambre. What does that literally translate into? I have hunger. And tengo sed, what does that mean? It means I have thirst. You don't actually speak that way in English. You'd sound crazy. So the real translations are I am hungry and I am thirsty. So there are certain expressions, again, that you're just going to have to memorize and just use them. We're going to begin to go over the vocabulary of what we will use at the restaurant to be able to order food from the server. It's very important early on, as you're learning, to know the difference, grammatically speaking, between all the different types of words in a sentence. In this case, we'll begin with los verbos, which of course are the verbs. If you can identify the verb, which for me is the most important part of grammar, period, then you're going to be able to understand the majority of what is happening. So the action can tell us most of the information on what's going to happen. So we're going to start with querer, which is to want, comer, which is to eat, tomar or beber, which are synonyms, which both mean to drink, dar, which is to give, traer, which is to bring, or also it means to come with something like a side dish. What does that come with? ¿Qué trae la comida? What does it? What do I get as a side dish with that? Now los sustantivos, the nouns. So these are the things in a sentence. These are the things being something you can touch, or concepts that the verbs usually are going to refer to. Entremés is appetizer. So on our little menu here, we have sopa de vegetales, of course, vegetable soup. Ensalada, which is salad. We're going to move on to the plato principal, the main dish. Carne, meat. Pescado, fish. Pollo, chicken. Puerco, pork. Bebida is, of course, drink. Agua, everyone knows that, water. Jugo de naranja, orange juice. Refresco, soda, of course means soda. Cerveza, I think everyone knows that. Beer. Café, it's coffee. Alright, now we're moving on to the last part of the meal, postre, which is dessert. We've got tres leches, which is a very popular type of cake in Latin America. There's no translation for that. It's tres leches. I mean, I suppose you can not use a Latin accent to say tres leches, but remember there are certain proper nouns in languages that you don't change the name to. Like this one as well. Flan. Flan is flan. That's a type of more or less creme brulee, like a custard almost dessert. That's extremely popular. I'd say more popular than tres leches. Helado de vainilla, chocolate, fresa. This is either vanilla, chocolate, or strawberry ice cream. Notice that there's an I, extra I in vainilla in Spanish. It's not just vainilla, it's vainilla. AI is I. That's the sound. So now we're going to move on to the next steps in the learning process. We're going to actually combine the second and the third, which is repeat and practice. And we're going to talk about using flashcards to accomplish this. A little bit later on, we're going to start using sentences where we combine the vocabulary that we're going to learn right now. So I'm going to show you a sample of a flashcard using this slideshow. So on one side, on the left side of your screen there, you see Español, and for example, you could put the expression tengo hambre. As you can see in the lower right hand corner, I put what type of vocabulary, if you will, this is, because the other ones you'll have verbo or you'll have sustantivo. And then English, of course, on the other side, side 2, says what the Spanish is, I'm hungry. And again, it's an expression. So now we're going to go ahead and, if you can gather, if you've already gathered, or if you haven't, go ahead and get some of the note cards and start making the next list here. So you're going to have the expresiones, tengo hambre, tengo sed, and then los verbos, and you see the list there in your screen. So go ahead and work on that. If you have to pause the video, go ahead. And then the same thing is going to be for los sustantivos, the nouns. And then the last part is here's the rest of the complete list that we've already gone over. In a moment here, we're going to go over the instructions on how I actually learned a lot of vocabulary. I learned to memorize a lot by using flashcards, and I had a method of doing that. So you made the flashcards, and now it's time to do the exercise. So when I was learning Spanish early on, trying to learn a whole bunch of new words, this is how I would approach the flashcard exercise. I would first start with all the cards in one pile, Spanish side facing up. I'd guess what the answer was by checking for the English on the other side. And if I got it correct, I'd put it in its correct pile. If I got it incorrectly, I would put it in the retrial pile. I'd go through all the flashcards one at a time. And anything I got incorrectly, I would actually review it first before attempting to guess what the answers were again. So then afterwards, I'd go through the retrial pile one by one. And once I got all the cards correct, there was nothing left, then I would flip them over to the other language, so I'd have English side facing up. It is very important to do both languages, because if you only go from Spanish to English, it's a lot easier to go to your first language than the other way around. You really are forced to think when you go from English to Spanish. And with all this being said, I want to make one more important note here, and that is, if you can draw even remotely well, or if you can find these images, whether it's clip art or real life pics online, I would suggest you use those images rather than the English words, because again, the less you rely on translating to English, the faster you're going to learn. And I realize you're going to have to do a little bit of you get to rely a little bit on English, the written words, but the goal is to think in Spanish, so the less the better. So thank you for watching this part of the video. Part 2 is where we're going to speak in complete sentences and start to think in Spanish and how you are going to combine all the words into correct word order.